Reddit, what's your funniest go-to story that is most often requested by your friends? Part 2. Posted this is our drunk and got no love. My old Westchester friends always made me tell this story. So one night two of my good friends were having a party. This was also the night I met one of my long-term girlfriends. So I started friend A's house. We started at around 4 p.m. when I got off work early. After a case or two of Pabst, I decide to go make an appearance at friend B's party. After walking there, I end up with some co-workers smoking a blunt. Next thing I know, everyone has moved away from the circle, and I end up with a nice-sized roach, which ended up in my cigarette pack for the next day hangover. By this time I am blitzed. I decide to walk back to friend B's party. Along the way, I find an empty recycle bin in the middle of the street, and remember I hadn't gotten them a housewarming present. So win-win. I show up with my gift, and this is when it started to go downhill. The house Frenda had moved into was previously occupied by his aunt, who had lived there for decades. We had found some ancient bottles of liqueur, including one rye whiskey. I forget the brand. When drunken Dave comes up to me with this bottle of pure evil and wants to do shots. Real quick backstory on Dave. First time I met him, he vomited all over himself. Then passed out under the beer pong table and pissed himself while my roommates drew all over him. Hence the nickname. So Dave pours 2 shots, which I promptly chug both of them. He scoffs and pours 2 more, which both promptly went down my gullet. He gives up, and at this point, I think I blacked out. Next thing I know, I'm walking back to my apartment, and some guy on a bicycle is telling me I should probably run. The cops saw what I had done and were coming for me. I'm like, yay sure, and keep walking. The cops pull up and ask me why I had vandalized the newspaper box. Cue me having no clue what just happened. They package me up and take me to the station. The arresting officer was actually pretty nice to me considering I was cooperating. As he's going through my things in my backpack, he finds the blunt roach from earlier and then finds a pirated copy of Warcraft 3 my friend had given me earlier. We ended up talking about Blizzard and Diablo for maybe an hour or more. In the end, he just tossed the blunt roach and threw me in the drunk tank. I ended up with disorderly conduct. I think I blew .30 something on the breathalyzer, the kicker. When I finally woke up and got out of the drunk tank the next day, I ran into a co-worker on my walk home, bum a cigarette, and tell him what happened. Then I went into work the next day, and my story was of course the hot shit that night. Dr. vandalized a newspaper box while blackout drunk. Cop let me off of marijuana possession after we talked about video games for an hour. My entire work knew the story when I went in the next day. I love telling this story about a mate from footy. Is a little unnerving and also an SFW. So he was in Thailand as a first-time traveler, sitting at a bar downing drinks. As he scans the bar, he notices one particularly cute local girl giving him a look up and down. He quickly flashes her a smile and gets one back. While he thinks to himself, I might be onto something here, he promptly orders 2 drinks and brings one over to her. They drink and chat for a few minutes before heading to the dance floor so that he could grind his semi-erect penis against her through his jeans. After a while of dancing, she asks him if he wants to go back to her house for a few more drinks. Bloody oath, he replies thinking that he was about to get lucky with minimal effort on his part. Before they can even get in the door to her apartment, they are locked in a passionate embrace. She fumbles for the keys, and after what seemed like an eternity to him, she gets the door open. From here they quickly move to the bedroom, where he throws her down onto the bed and lowers himself over her. They continue to kiss, and without any discouragement from her, he moves his hand down her stomach and into her pants. What he found in her pants he has described as the second biggest stomach-dropping, head-spinning experience of his short life. There in her pants he found a penis. He promptly removed his hand and sat up. Whoa, that's a penis. His response, yes it is. Do you like it? She asks. Oh, no. Sorry, I like vaginas, but you don't want to try suck it? Not really? I might just leave now. She gets up off the bed, heads over to her purse and walks back over to him. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a gun, points it at him, and says no. I think you really want to suck my penis, though the first time we all heard this at football. Our first question was what happened next, to which he replied, well, I'm still standing here, aren't I? DL. Friend was given the option to be shot in the face with a gun or a penis by a ladyboy in Thailand. I love telling this story about a mate from footy. Is a little unnerving and also an SFW. So he was in Thailand as a first-time traveler, sitting at a bar downing drinks. As he scans the bar, he notices one particularly cute local girl giving him a look up and down. He quickly flashes her a smile and gets one back. While he thinks to himself, I might be onto something here, he promptly orders 2 drinks and brings one over to her. They drink and chat for a few minutes before heading to the dance floor so that he could grind his semi-erect penis against her through his jeans. After a while of dancing, she asks him if he wants to go back to her house for a few more drinks. Bloody oath, he replies, thinking that he was about to get lucky with minimal effort on his part. Before they can even get in the door to her apartment, they are locked in a passionate embrace. She fumbles for the keys, and after what seemed like an eternity to him, she gets the door open. From here they quickly move to the bedroom, where he throws her down onto the bed and lowers himself over her. They continue to kiss, and without any discouragement from her, he moves his hand down her stomach and into her pants. What he found in her pants he has described as the second biggest stomach-dropping, head-spinning experience of his short life. There in her pants he found a penis. He promptly removed his hand and sat up. Whoa, that's a penis, his response. Yes, it is. Do you like it? She asks. Oh, no. Sorry, I like vaginas, but you don't want to try suck it? Not really? I might just leave now. She gets up off the bed, heads over to her purse and walks back over to him. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a gun, points it at him and says, no. I think you really want to suck my penis, though the first time we all heard this at football. Our first question was what happened next, to which he replied, well, I'm still standing here, aren't I? DL. Friend was given the option to be shot in the face with a gun or a penis by a ladyboy in Thailand. I love telling this story about a mate from footy. Is a little unnerving and also an SFW. So he was in Thailand as a first-time traveler, sitting at a bar downing drinks. As he scans the bar, he notices one particularly cute local girl giving him a look up and down. He quickly flashes her a smile and gets one back. While he thinks to himself, I might be onto something here, he promptly orders 2 drinks and brings one over to her. They drink and chat for a few minutes before heading to the dance floor so that he could grind his semi-erect penis against her through his jeans. After a while of dancing, she asks him if he wants to go back to her house for a few more drinks. Bloody oath, he replies, thinking that he was about to get lucky with minimal effort on his part. Before they can even get in the door to her apartment, they are locked in a passionate embrace. She fumbles for the keys, and after what seemed like an eternity to him, she gets the door open. From here they quickly move to the bedroom, where he throws her down onto the bed and lowers himself over her. They continue to kiss, and without any discouragement from her, he moves his hand down her stomach and into her pants. What he found in her pants he has described as the second biggest stomach-dropping, head-spinning experience of his short life. There in her pants he found a penis. He promptly removed his hand and sat up. Whoa, that's a penis, his response. Yes, it is. Do you like it? She asks. Oh, no. Sorry, I like vaginas, but you don't want to try suck it? Not really? I might just leave now. She gets up off the bed, heads over to her purse and walks back over to him. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a gun, points it at him and says, no. I think you really want to suck my penis, though the first time we all heard this at football. Our first question was what happened next, to which he replied, well, I'm still standing here, aren't I? DL. Friend was given the option to be shot in the face with a gun or a penis by a ladyboy in Thailand. This is the tale of Demetrius, a friend, a co-worker, and a family man. I first met Demetrius when I began working for a local department store. I was transferred to the shoe department, where he was also working. He was a great worker and a chill guy to hang out with, so we formed a natural bond. I found out later that he smoked weed too, which was another thing we had in common. Though to be honest, I probably should have known he did from the moment I met him. Demetrius was 6'3", black as the night, and had dreads that would rival Bob Marley's. I found out that he already had multiple convictions against him for possession over the course of about 10 years. Including one only a year and a half ago for distribution of over an ounce of cannabis. To top it all off, he had 2 kids. Met them a few times. They were cute. I come to work one day last February, and Demetrius is on the schedule, but not in the store. I ask a co-worker about where he is, and she says he hasn't been in days. We think he might have gotten arrested. I grab for my smartphone and look up our county circuit clerk, and sure enough, see charges listed against him to counts each of possession and distribution of cannabis in the amount of 10 to 300 grams. My heart sank. I was sure he was going to get canned. I was bummed the whole way home from work. I pulled my car into the lot of a local grocery store and went inside for a snack. It was around 10 o'clock at night. As I'm walking toward the chip aisle, I hear a familiar voice say, "Yo, unapologetic life." No, it couldn't be. Sure enough, there he was in all of his glory, standing in the liquor aisle. "Demetrius, dude, I thought you were in jail." I shouted. He chuckles and says, "So word got out, huh?" "Well, yeah, word got out. You've been gone a week." We chatted for a while, and I asked him how exactly he got out of jail. He informed me that he had been bailed out, but that they still got a warrant out for me for violation my probation. Was I even allowed to be talking to him? "Well shit, aren't they trying to find you?" I ask. "Nah, they ain't looking for me, okay?" "Demetrius, well, what are you going to do?" "I'm trinna get high." Naturally. I asked him when his court date was, and vowed to be there to support him. And boy, did I fulfill that promise. I told a buddy of mine about the hearing, and he immediately decided he was going to. On the day of the trial, we got ready at his house when his younger brother asks where we're going. We tell him, "Oh shit, that's crazy. Can I come too?" "Why the fuck not?" Not even 5 minutes later, I received calls from 2 other friends wanting to go. I tell them they can go too. I also forgot that I was supposed to meet a friend that day for coffee, so he came along with us. And the younger brother called up another one of his friends to come watch the spectacle. Suddenly, 7 white dudes are going to the county courthouse to watch my buddy get canned. When we arrive at the courthouse, we go through the metal detectors, and I hear a voice that I recognize. But no, wasn't in the original group. I look up, and 2 more friends of mine are there. One of them paying a speeding ticket, 9 white people. We're struggling to hold in laughter in the elevator, particularly when a disapproving old lady asked if this was some kind of party. You could say that, I guess. We step off the elevator, disperse, and I see Demetrius walk over to me offering a handshake and a smile. I graciously accept. Then, a funny look comes over his face. All these people with you. Yeah. You've got a lot of support today, man. We waited outside the courtroom for what seemed like an eternity. Out of the bathroom walked 2 attorneys, one douchebag, spiky-haired, 20-something who looked like Ryan Seacrest, and an older gentleman who looked like he knew what he was doing. Thankfully, he ended up being the attorney for the defense. Demetrius's family steps off the elevator, and the doors to the courthouse opens. They all sit on the left, behind the defendant. We all sit on the right. The douchebag state's attorney looks around, mutters to his partner, "What is this, his posse?" and scowls in our general direction. Everyone in the courtroom looks at this group of honkies with furrowed brows. Just then, it occurs to me that the whole damn thing looks like the courtroom scene from To Kill a Mockingbird. All the white people on the state side, with a black defendant and his family on the left. Court begins, both sides review existing evidence, and the state submits to new updates that Demetrius has had all clean screens, and that he's attended every AA and drug rehabilitation meeting that he has been assigned. They make the recommendation, however, that he be sent to prison, even if for a short term. Other recommendations we can make include a stay in the county jail, community service, or alternative forms of punishment, such as boot camp. I shit you not. Boot camp. The defense makes the case that public attitude toward cannabis is changing, that our prisons are overcrowded, and Demetrius is making a healthy trek toward recovery. So we should keep him on the course he's on right now. The judge sits back in his chair, puts his face in his hand, sighs, and is silent for what seems like an eternity. Once he looks up, he looks around and asks, "Are all these people here for you?" We squirm in our chairs. Yes, Your Honor, says Demetrius, sounding unsure of what to do. The judge nods and says, "Quite a turnout. Do you mind telling us who they are? You don't have to name names, but just a general idea of how they know you. Friends, coworkers, family, a guy he sold weed to one time." But he didn't throw that part in. The judge gives a smile and says, "Well, Demetrius, to be honest, this is a really tough call. Because on the one hand, your record is so serious and you committed a felony while on probation. My natural instinct is to put you in prison. But something the defense said really struck me. You're on a good path now, and we should keep you that way. I can see that you've clearly taken good strides toward recovery, and to be honest, looking at all the support you're getting from these good people here, I want to keep this up. I'm going to give you an extension on your probation, but if I see you back in here, it's prison. Understood. We sat in silent disbelief. Our snowball of white people coming to watch a man get sent to prison caused the whole thing to backfire. Demetrius was free, and it was partially because of us. The judge adds now. I don't want you all to leave here high-fiving and saying he got off easy. Because he didn't get off. I'm going to set a hearing on August 30th to check up on how you're doing, Demetrius, and of course, you can all come back too. The courtroom begins laughing. Douchebag state's attorney turns around to me and glares. As we leave the courtroom, I shake Demetrius's hand and ask him what he's going to do now. I'ma try to get my old job back. No way in hell. Demetrius, we exit the courthouse, get into the car, and begin shouting his name through the streets of our town. Demetrius is free. Like magic, we shout this at two young black kids walking down the street, and they turn around and holler with glee. Was walking to my apartment complex when I saw an officer in pursuit on foot of a man dressed in all black. The man being chased ran around the corner and down the back path that I was currently walking towards. The officer, not too far behind, stops the pursuit once he meets up with me. He then pulls out his notepad and begins asking me questions. Q. Did you see anyone running through here wearing all black? Yes. If you turn around you can still see him, the man still running down the back path, clearly visible. Q. If you were to see him again, would you be able to identify him? If you just turn around you can identify him yourself. At this point the man running makes a turn and runs into the complex halfway to the street. Q. So you saw him run down here. Can you tell me where he went? He just ran into the complex about halfway to the street. The officer grabs his radio on his shoulder and informs any other officers that the perpetrator was now on to 9 Ave the street. I start getting irate and tell the officer that he didn't make it to the street and is some here inside the complex. At which point the officer says he understands and starts running back the way that he came. So I tell my friends this story in case they get in trouble from ACST. McLeod, he doesn't seem to be the brightest in our local law enforcement. Dr. Officer chasing suspect stops me to ask questions instead of resuming pursuit. Every year, the 9th grade honors English class participated in a high school writing contest for my state's Holocaust Memorial Foundation. I went to a Catholic school, but we always entered when the time of year came around, because that was when we were usually reading the book Night. Anyway, the contest had 3 categories: poetry, short story, and essay. This year, the theme was diversity. I was one of my teacher's favorites, so when I turned in my poem a week before deadline, he told me he was thrilled to read it. The next day he handed it back and said, "This is good, but not your best work. I really think you should try the essay," but I didn't want to. For the next 3 days, I wrote a short story, then handed it in. Same deal, Duo, I like this, but I really want to see you write an essay. How about an essay on friendship? Don't you think the judges would like an essay on friendship? No, I did not think the judges would like an essay on friendship, because that was stupid and unrelated to the Holocaust. But later that night, I was feeling snarkly and wrote the sappiest, most contrived, most ridiculous essay I could about friendship. I did not proofread. I did not even read it all the way before hitting print and handing it in the next day. Flash forward 2 weeks. It's the night of the award ceremony for the contest. Knowing that I have no chance, I choose not to go. And while I was not there, this happened. For each category, they announced the winner. If the winner was present, they would come up to the podium and read their winning entry. If not, the second place winner would read his or hers. My stupid, thoughtless essay won, but I was not there. So the second place winner read his tear-jerking tale about his grandmother's experiences in a concentration camp. It's funny because I am a terrible person. TL. Dr. Entered Holocaust essay contest with bullshit entry to mock my teacher. Won contest, beating out a kid who wrote about his family, who survived the actual Holocaust. Copy pasta from the Ascredit post. I just posted this in fairly recently. I'm on my phone, so I apologize for any errors. 7th grade. Got invited to a party where everyone was drinking. This happened to be my first time drinking, so I only sipped my beer. Two of my neighbors, we'll call them Jill and Jane, are smashed. 7th grade, falling down, slurring wasted. Everyone is leaving the basement to go outside when Jill and Jane say, "Hey, I go Tafin Bubba. Want to see our special dance?" Being somewhat attracted to both of them, I nodded and sat down. Cue the horror show. They both start drunkenly dancing around each other. And every time they did a particular interesting move, there was a weird farting sound I'd never heard before. This continued for about a minute, and then they initiated the finale, a running jumping into each other's arms hug, accompanied by a weird, squishy fart noise. I sat in stunned silence watching, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. They both looked at me smiling goofily, until I managed to ask them how they were making those fart noises. They excitedly explained to me that they could fart out the front as well as the back. Only until a year later did I realize what I had seen. TL Drive. I watched 2 drunk girls perform a ceremonial queef dance. This is a popular tale from my life amongst my friends. We were walking home after an all-night bender, and we had pushes down some late-night kebabs. My girlfriend and I had separate flats at the time, and since her place was closer than mine, we decided to go to hers. On our way home, this loud, annoying drunk guy came up to us to ramble, and kept following us in the same direction we were headed. We were polite, and went with it, humoring him. He was hanging over us with his arm, like we were almost dragging him along. He was unpleasant and nonsensical. Naturally, the situation started to get tiresome rather quickly. At this point, we were outside our apartment building. So I thought I should get rid of this guy before he asks himself in for a Nachspiel. He wasn't pleased when I asked him to go on down the street while we went inside without him. We started arguing at the top of the stairs of the building. He said he lived on the 5th floor and should come in with us. "Yeah, right," I said. "This building only has 4 floors. Things were said, and he jumped me. I am a normal-sized, no-trouble kind of guy, and had never been in a fight before in my life. This guy took me by the throat and lifted me up against the wall. Seeing my girl's expression of horror on her face, I flipped and managed somehow to wiggle out of his grip and knock him down. While he was scrambling on the ground, I quickly pushed him out the door and down the stairs. I promptly locked the door and heard him scream, "I'm coming in," from outside of the door while his keys entered the lock. I instantly realized what I had done, so we jetted up to our apartment and locked ourselves in. More importantly, locked him out. I heard him run furiously up the stairs, but he never found us. My first and only fight. TL Dr. Kicked a man out of his own building because I thought he didn't live there. He did. This will probably get buried, but I'll try anyway. For backstory, I'm exceedingly clumsy, to the point where it's almost a superpower. I can be perfectly in the middle of picking up a pen, and somehow it'll get caught on something, flip up into the air, spin around, and land in my hair. All in the space of a second. This actually happened in front of my boss at the time. I awkwardly grabbed Anther pen to finish signing what I had to sign. But anyway, this one particular story, which my friends love to tell to any person who we run into after long absences, is as follows. We'd all been staying the night at a friend's house back when we were teenagers. And as teenage boys do, we stayed up all night watching movies and playing video games. The next day, we were heading to a local shopping center to watch a movie or something, and we were exhausted. We stepped into a Starbucks in the bottom corner of the shopping center at something like 8 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday. Very quiet, near deserted, except for 2 old ladies sitting at the table next to ours. After we sat down with our coffees in a trance-like state, no one really said much, since we were pretty drained. I was sitting with my coffee held in my lap, on the verge of falling asleep, when my super clumsiness reawoke. Completely out of the blue, I spasmed, flipped the nearly full cup of coffee over into my lap, sat up instantly, and screamed out, "Fuck me dead." To this day, I'll never live it down, and I could never believe the shock or horror on the faces of the otherwise lovely old ladies. Whenever I do something clumsy around friends outside my immediate circle, all my close friends shout out "Fuck me dead," laugh, and then explain the story to the confused onlookers. In this way, my legend will live on. My story is very gross and NSFW, but in my circle of friends, this type of stuff is what gets the most laughs. Sorry in advance if I offended. This also works better when I can tell it in person, but here it goes. I was in Thailand for 3 months over the winter, and within the first 2 weeks, there I got E. coli. If you don't know what E. coli is, it's essentially a type of food poisoning that results in lots of vomiting and shitting. Lots and lots of shitting. So I caught this terrible bacteria by what I assumed is eating shit. Whether it be from unwashed hands, uncooked meat, or water from the Chao Phraya River splashing into my mouth on our many romantic boat rides through the city. Needless to say, poo was in my mouth, and because of that, I spent around 5 days in a northern Thai hospital splashing out the soupiest poops I have ever mustered, peppered with the occasional vomiting in between. Fast forward 2 weeks. I recovered from my crappy experience and was off exploring wonderful Cambodia, in which time I met a very intelligent, attractive, young Colombian lady whom I ended up liking probably a little too much. We toured the country together for about a week which included a fair amount of sex. On what was planned on being our second or third last day together, I got sick again from what I believe was a remaining strain of E. coli from the 2 weeks earlier. Either that, or I somehow got extremely unlucky and caught E. coli twice. So I was back at square one again with this damn shitty bacteria. Deja vu. Only this time, I was in Cambodia, which was a lot harder to find a hospital, and I had a sexy Colombian friend in which I had to appear cool for. Needless to say, E. coli is stronger than I am, and I could not appear cool. So I was bedridden for a whole day while she would run and get whatever food she could find that I could keep down. Oddly enough, the only food that I did manage to eat and keep down was KFC, damn Canadian diet. And yes, KFC in Cambodia. It's there. Look it up. The whole time I was trying with all my willpower not to puke on her or be too loud in the bathroom. I succeeded. The first day anyways. The second day was very much the same, except I was exhausted from vomiting and shitting all the time. She was out for most of the day, so I didn't have to worry about her being around me being disgusting. She came home at night and brought food with her, so I sat up in bed with my back against the headboard. I ate the pills she gave me and tried my best at the food. Until it happened, my butt just splashed out the most water shit liquid I have ever seen. I wasn't sure until I lifted my butt, and there was a water balloon type splash on these nice white sheets that was tinted green and a little brown. Now this splash wasn't that big. It was manageable, but I had no idea what to do. She was in the washroom taking off her earrings, getting ready for bed, etc., but I couldn't tell her that I just shit in our bed, let alone right by the headboard and pillows, as if there was a good place to shit in a bed. So my mind was racing, and the first thing I thought of was that my soup poop kind of looked like vomit. Yeah, Jared, run with that. Vomit isn't as gross as poo. I put one of our pillows over my poo as she walks into the room, and I say I can't be sure, but I thought I woke up in the middle of my sleep and puked, and she says aw jarred. Do you see anything? And with the pillow over my poop I say no. Maybe it was a dream, I don't know. So she says okay, and gets ready to climb into bed. I nestle back down beside my water stain and accidentally move the pillow, uncovering the deed. Oh damn it. You know what? I did puke here. Gross. I'm so sorry. She saw it and was not happy, but then called room service to get our pillows and sheets changed. During that I went to the bathroom and showered. Changed my boxes, then just climbed back into bed. I sometimes wonder what I would have done if I would have shit in the middle of the bed. A spot where it would make no sense that I vomited. What would have I said? Questions for years. Edit long story equals many mistakes. Me and a buddy go to strip club late afternoon for $20 all you can drink. We are enjoying our beverages and giving some singles to the dancers when suddenly the music cuts off and the lights come up. The MC comes over to us and says, hey, you guys are the only ones here. You can stay and drink, but we're not gonna have any more dancers until a crowd shows up. Sure enough, we look around, and there is no one there. The dancers are at the bar playing the touchscreen game. So we sit there drinking our drinks, joking with the cocktail waitress as she brings us drinks, and watching some karate competition on the local news channel. One of the better-looking dancers comes up and is talking to us when suddenly one of the other dancers, who was kind of a train wreck, comes up. I had given her a couple pity dollars as she was dancing earlier. She leans over, grasps my shoulder, and says thank you fa da dawa. It took everything I had not to laugh at her serious speech impediment. She then proceeds to sit in my lap and fall asleep. Like seriously, she started snoring. I'm bouncing my leg trying to wake her from her slumber and get her off my lap when a very in-your-face dancer comes up and asks, "Is this bitch bothering you?" I make an uncomfortable face, and the ghetto broad snatches sleeping not-so-beauty by the hair and screams, "Get yo stank ass off him! Nitrogen monoxide one wants yo nasty shit." The slumbering stripper ran off crying. My friends tell this story to others and add their own details. Thank you fo. Dawa has become a running joke in my town. S. This will probably end up getting buried, but oh well. A bit of backstory. I live at a storage unit facility. I'm the manager. The main office of the facility has an attached living quarters, giving the current manager the option to live on site. The place is actually pretty damn nice, so, naturally, I moved in as soon as I got the job. This building is essentially a house with an additional room in the front, in which the tenants are welcome to walk right in and directly ask me any question, pay their monthly fees. The living quarters have a fairly open floor plan, to the point where you can see inside almost every room of the place from inside the office if I leave the door between the two open. I'm usually very good about keeping the door closed, but I occasionally forget. This story takes place on one such day. It had been an exceedingly slow and miserably hot week. In the past 5 days, I had only had tenants walk into the office, but I was required to sit at my desk and pretend to be busy for the duration of my scheduled hours in case there were any additional walk-ins. Imagine sitting in a chair, sweating in a stifling 96-degree room with no circulation and windows stretching across an entire wall, letting in sunlight for an agonizing 8-hour stretch. I began to fantasize about what I would do the second I could retire to the cooler rooms further inside the house. First a cold drink from the fridge, then a cool, relaxing shower. As the day winded down to a close, I began counting my remaining minutes and then seconds. The second my computer showed for a clock, I stood up, dashed further into my house, and raced to the fridge, where I downed an entire bottle of lemonade. Then I hit the shower. I love where I live, but if I had one complaint, it would be the bathroom. I have a huge spider problem in there. They seem to be all over the place. It tends to make me absolutely paranoid, and most of the time I'll scan the ceiling for any sign of the creepy crawlers the moment I enter the room. But on that day, I didn't care at all. Instead of making sure the coast was clear, I jumped straight into the shower and began to cool off. This was a mistake. At some point, I assume, while I had my eyes closed, washing my hair, a fair number of these little dudes hanging out overhead began to drop off the ceiling and down into the water around my feet. It's not an unusual occurrence or anything. I've always assumed that they fall due to the accumulated moisture. Nonetheless, it's pretty unnerving opening your eyes to discover a bunch of these things swimming around your feet. At this point, I decided the shower had lasted long enough and jumped out to begin drying off. This is where shit gets real. As I'm wiping down my body, I glance up into the mirror and catch my own reflection. At this moment, I see not one, but two of these little arachnid devils crawl out from my hairline and down onto my face. Frozen in fear, I watch my reflection as these two nightmares slowly explore the contours of my face for what felt like hours. One crawled down the bridge of my nose and turned back to look at me. I readjusted my eyes from the mirror to my nose, and those 8 beady little eyes slowly came into focus. I, very calmly, lost my fucking shit. I threw open the bathroom door and bolted down the hallway into the kitchen, all the while letting loose the most blood-curdling scream. Still screaming, I seized the little spray nozzle next to my sink and blasted my face with water in an attempt to dislodge the spiders I could still feel crawling on me. In hindsight, I could have just used the shower head or, better still, smashed the little fiends with my hand. But I wasn't exactly in my right mind at this point. It wasn't long before I spotted the spiders washed off onto the tiled floor, trying to escape. I knew I had the upper hand. I didn't waste any time as I began stomping furiously around my kitchen floor, shouting "Die, die, die," of course. The floor was soaked and, in my enthusiasm, I slipped and landed on my back with my head in the hallway. Exhausted by the recent turn of events, I considered just laying there for a bit to catch my breath until ... Is this a bad time? I sat bolt upright and looked down the hall and into my office where the door was standing wide open. Inside was one of my longest-lasting tenants, an elderly woman, come to ask about changing the lock on her locker. I have no clue how long she was standing there, but from the look on her face, I could tell she had witnessed everything. Doctor. Took a shower at the workplace. Caught some spiders with my face. Went on a nude rampage, witnessed by a woman dressed in lace. Edit. Spelling. Grammar. Well, this isn't a widely requested story, but every Christmas it usually gets retold, and everyone has a laugh. My uncle had been drinking Jack Daniels all day one Christmas, and he started to complain that his current drink tasted funny. He said that it tasted soapy, so he started telling my mom that she probably hadn't rinsed the glass out well enough and there was leftover soap in it. Now, of course, we're not the type of family that wastes good Jack Daniels, so he keeps drinking all the while telling my mom off about how she should rinse the dishes better. He finally finished his drink, and there sitting in the bottom is a stink bug, with arms and legs missing, so he must have swallowed bits and pieces of the stink bug. He was so grossed out, and his reaction was priceless. So now every time he has a drink, everyone tells him to check for stinkbugs.tl. Dr. Stink bugs and whiskey taste like soap. A few summers ago, I bought a bike from Canadian Tire hardware store in Canada. At first, I liked the bike, so I rode it around for a week. But then I felt that maybe this bike was too small for me. Canadian Tire's policy is not to accept returns on bikes, so I thought I would put it up for sale on Craigslist. It'll knock off $50 off the price, and since the bike is brand new, it should sell in no time. A week goes by. A bunch of people have contacted me, but nobody has gone through with the purchase. I decide to just sell the bike to my brother. Before deleting the ad, I notice that a girl has contacted me about the bike in my email. So I shoot her an email back saying that it is not a girl's bike. She writes back saying she is really interested and just wants to see the bike. I tell her that I have decided not to sell the bike, but she insists that she come take a look at the bike anyways. So I agree, and we set up a meeting. Later on that day, after work, me and my friends are just hanging out in front of our house as I wait for her. I get a call from her that she cannot find my place, but she is looking. 15 minutes later, I get another call, and she still cannot find the place, even though I have told her exactly where to go. At this point, I notice that the phone calls are a bit strange, and that there is a delay from the times. I ask her something, and she responds. I decide that I am going to go meet her on the main street near my house, and bring her back to my place. As I am waiting on the main street, all of a sudden two police cars pull right up in front of me on the wrong side of the road. I lived in a rough area, so I thought, wow, these guys are about to get someone. This is gonna be fun to watch. Then I notice that four cops are looking right at me and heading right towards me. I'm thinking there must be some sort of misunderstanding. The conversation went something like this. Hey buddy, what are you doing standing here? Nothing, officers, just waiting to meet up with someone to sell my bike. Oh yeah. Can I see some ID please? Sure, here you go. Do you have any drugs, weapons, etc.? Nope, just my phone and wallet. As we are talking, 3 more cops show. However, these guys are fully suited up. The suits approach me and ask me more random questions. They ask me where I got the bike from. Finally, I realize that this is all about the damn bicycle, so I start laughing. I explain to them what happened and why I was selling it, but they weren't having any of it. They were convinced me and friends were some sort of gang of bike thieves. Apparently our house had been under surveillance that day, as well as they described my friends who were still waiting for me at the front of my house. They were particularly interested in my black friend and whether he was going to start running. At this point, I am laughing my ass off at how funny this all is. I explain the whole situation to them and why I was selling the bike. They are not convinced, and even more cops are at location now. I invite the suits to walk with me to my house, and they can check the serial number of my bike. I had registered the serial number with the Toronto police as soon as I got the bike. My friends are all surprised to see me heading back to the house with a smile on my face and about 10 cops following me. They get to the house and immediately begin to check IDs and suspect everyone. I show them the receipt of the bike. They still don't believe me. They are being total assholes and are treating everyone like criminals. Finally, they run the serial number and find out that is in fact my bike. Now they are feeling pretty stupid spending all this time and resources on nothing. The cop explains to me that they had reports of stolen bikes in my area. The whole thing was a sting operation, and they suspected me and friends of hoarding stolen bikes in our basement. The girl was a cop too, and she looks for stolen bikes being sold on Craigslist. I told them next time do some research, since I had even wrote on the ad that I have the receipt for the bike. Then one cop told me, buddy, if your bike was stolen, Wouldn't you want us to be out there doing shit like this? That is the day I realized how dumb cops can be.